Alright guys, this is the last chapter where I will be going slow, and the chapters up, so you should be practicing more and more and more as you build your comfort. In this chapter, we're going to cover some more commands to handle files. Okay, so what I have done is I have created a large file. Once again, you can see it here. Pretty big file. I'm not sure if you guys have tried opening a really large file on Windows system and it shows that hourglass symbol. It keeps spinning and finally you have to restart your machine because it never comes out of it. Same thing can happen on Unix when you try to open a ginormous file, and basically especially working with log files. um, like depending on what kind of log file is, you could be looking at a immensely wrong large file. Okay, you know what, let me get a log file. All right guys, so messages is Unix file system's system log file, and in this case it's not that large, but this is what it's going to look like, and you're trying to find a problem in your file. And let's say like I don't have that big of a file, but let's assume this is a million line file. Even in this case, you don't really want to look at all this stuff, right? So in Unix, you have a command called tail, and without any inputs, if you execute it, the tail file name is going to give you the last 10 lines of that file. Okay, and you can change that number to whichever one you want. So now it's just going to show 3. You can see 50. Like that usually has been my number always somehow. Like show me the last 50 messages. Okay, now that tail. On the same lines, you have head, and head is going to show you the top 10 lines. Once again, you can just look at top 2 lines. All right. Uh, Now, the other thing, so that's one way to look at the top and bottom of the file. Now, sometimes you're going to have to look at a file page by page, and so the command is pg messages. And so this is the first page, second page, third page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth. Well, however long that file goes, you're basically going to look at that file one page at a time. Okay. Now it can be done. Okay, so the less is also a command just like pg, but looks like it doesn't exist here. Don't worry about it. Actually, let's just remove less from here. Okay, so we got tail, head, pg, head. Okay, now another thing like which you would use a lot of times, the messages file. Okay, now you want to know how many lines are in this file, and the way you do that is word count -l is lines and the name of the file. Okay, so you are going to get the number of lines that exist in that file, and that's basically 279. WC actually counts the words, but doesn't really come in handy ever. So you'll probably always remember WC as WC minus L. Okay, now the last one, actually part of it you have seen before. So echo first line in the file, and when you redirect it to test.txt, the test.txt file has those contents. Okay, now I want to add a second line to this file. Okay, and I execute the same thing, but in this case it just replaced the first line. So when you use a single redirect symbol, it's going to replace that line. But now let's replace it with the first line. So our file cat.txt, it has the first line as first. Now the only simple other thing you need to do to append this line to the end of that file is by using two uh, less than symbols. Less than, greater than, basically okay, I did the same thing. I want to send the second line. Well, now the second line is going to be the third line. But yeah, this is how you add lines to a file. This comes in really handy when you don't want to open the editor and go through uh, basically go through stuff that I'm rambling. Anyways, so this is how you deal with files. Hi guys, so this is the last chapter that I'm going to be covering in Linux Basics, but this is going to have some advanced commands. Well, compared to what you have been doing so far. So I really hope you guys have practiced enough with the previous commands, so this won't be too difficult. Like, if the more you practice, the easier it gets. Okay, so now I need some larger files to deal with, and so I'm in this directory slash /varlog, and there are a bunch of different files. Let's see if apt has more. Nope, it doesn't. All right. NTP stats, nothing. All right, forget it. So we are here and we have quite a bit of files, right? Actually, let me pause. I need even a bigger folder. Okay, so I found a folder, and this is the proc file system. And you don't want to get in here unless you really know what you're doing, and especially not as root. Guys, wanted to leave that note about the proc file system. So even though this example didn't work for what I was trying to show, I'm still leaving this part here. Guys, found a folder with a bunch of files. And if you do ls-l, there are quite a few files. And let's say you want to find the latest file that I changed. So the flags for that, ls-l, that's going to give you the big output, and you're going to say ls-t is going to sort the output using time. Okay, so the first file that you see here is 7 June 2006, and after that it's like more and more recent files. But let's say you want to see this file and not the last file. So once again, simple thing, ltr ls-lt and reverse, and then you get the latest file on the top. All right, so that is another switch for ls-l. Hi guys, another command that comes in very handy for a cloud engineer. You end up in situations when you're trying to debug a problem and you want to know in real time what's happening in a file. Okay, so right now auth.log basically stores all the logon related information. So we are not really concerned about what's the content of this file. I just want to show you how do you see the content in real time. Okay, so this is the last line that has happened, and now if we just sit here, not really much is going to happen. So to make something happen, it's the authentication file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in to that VM. Okay, now logging in, it didn't report anything, but if I get out, it basically said somebody disconnected from this IP address. And the more and more times I do, this is kind of a stupid example, but you guys get the idea. Like, hey guys, the more and more tired I get, my English gets worse. But basically, tail minus F you're going to use to watch a file in real time. So any file that you can see on your machine whose size is changing, just start tail minus F on that one and you would see what I mean. And I don't feel too guilty because I consider this as a bonus section. Thank you guys.